Okay, it's time to talk about physical build quality. And so before I get started, I'm gonna let you know ahead of time, this is probably gonna be a pretty long video. I mean, the one Dave Jones did, he only did 5 meters, and I think it was like a almost 30-minute video. I'm doing 15, and I'm pretty long-winded, so I'll try my best to keep this short, but that's just a heads up. And also, I will also mention, I'm gonna do individual reviews of all of these multimeters, and I'll probably put a link in the description to each one, so that way if I want to go long-winded and go really into detail about each meter, you can go watch the individual review of all 15 of these meters. But there's going to be a part 2 to this video, and I'm going to do the like ohms range on the mains test to see if it'll survive, and a drop test. But I don't want to do those before doing an individual review, so that's why there's going to be a separate part 2. I'm going to record this, then I'm going to do the individual reviews while they're still in working condition, because I don't know, some of them might not survive the mains test or the drop test. And then once I've done individual reviews of each meter, then I will do a part 2 to this. And you know, the range, the ohms range and the mains, that's not super important. If you're not stupid, that shouldn't ever be a problem, obviously, if you pay attention. Same with the drop test. For most people, you know, you're going to have it on the kickstand, it's going to be on your workbench, it's never going to fall, it's never going to have any problems, so you don't really have to worry about drop test durability. It's good to know, but unless you work out in the field, it's not probably that big of a deal. That's why I'm going to have a conclusion in this video to which ones I think are worth the money, which ones aren't. Maybe an overall winner, I don't know, but I don't think that how it survives a drop test or you know, the range test, ohms range on the mains test is really a make or break kind of thing. I'll mention it, we'll do a second video on that part later, but I don't think it would affect my decision, because those are kind of things that rely on you just being careful and not being stupid. So anyways, but you know, all the data will be there. Your opinion might be different, but you can review all the things that I've tested and then decide for yourself. So anyways, this is Uni-T UT61D, and I think these meters feel awesome. There's no creaking, they feel super rigid, they have a good amount of weight to them, and I know weight's not always a good thing if you're a hiker or runner or something like that, but you know, for something that's sitting on your bench, I like the weight. It feels heavy, it feels like, you know, if I move the leads around, this isn't going to slide around the bench. It's got enough weight to stay put. And I think the build quality on these are superb, and in fact the best feeling handheld Chinese multimeters by far as build quality and feel. And I know BK Precision is a Chinese company and they're a big name brand, but I think they feel like cheap plastic shit compared to these, and that's not opinion, that's objective. Hold one of these and then hold a BK, and the BK feels like a toy, and this feels like a real industrial beast. So objectively speaking, this thing is tough. Now, it doesn't have a separate holster, it's one of the integrated ones, but as far as build quality, this feels awesome. And size, I'd say average full-sized multimeter. Okay, we have the Tekpower TP40. It feels pretty good. It feels kind of cheap though, because while this is rubberized, it's just barely, so it still feels like hard plastic, and hard plastic without any soft touch materials on anything, whether it's a car interior or a multimeter holster or surround, it doesn't matter, it just makes it feel cheap. And so it doesn't feel super high quality in your hand because it's not very rubberized, but that being said, it doesn't creak, it feels solid, it's got good heft and weight to it. It's probably a little bigger than an average full-size multimeter. But it doesn't feel bad, that's for sure. It does not feel bad. I just think that it could do with softer rubber for better protection, or better yet, actually wait. Oh, this isn't integrated. This is a separate holster, I forgot. But it's a super hard. I mean, obviously it's like a rubber. You saw me bend it, but it's not soft to the touch. If you touched a side just poking at it, you would never know that that's rubber. But anyways, it feels pretty good. Okay, we have the Radio Shack 46 range True RMS multimeter. I don't know what the model number is, like I said earlier. As far as build quality, it feels extremely rugged because it has this huge holster that doesn't quite protect the range switch, but that's pretty much the case with all meters. But it's not a super soft rubber, but it's super thick, and it protrudes in every direction quite a ways. So as far as feel, this thing just feels great. It looks a little cheapish in some ways, I guess, but as far as feel, it doesn't feel cheap at all. Feels like it could take a bang or two. Okay, this is the Amprobe AM-530, and it feels like a really high-end multimeter does, and it is. It's a name brand. It feels rugged. It feels. Oops. Let's see. Look, it survived that. It feels a little lighter than some of the other ones, but not by a whole lot. But it's got a kind of soft integrated holster thing, surround, boot, condom, whatever you want to call this thing. It's integrated, but they got these ridges, so right here, you know, it feels soft, but the rest of it's kind of hard, kind of like on that Tekpower one. But it's not terrible. But overall, I think it's a nice looking meter, and it feels pretty good quality. There's no creaking or anything, so I think this could survive some knocks. This is the Uni-T UT61E. I already mentioned the build quality and durability of the D model, and physically they're identical, so there's no point in covering it. It feels awesome, and in fact, out of all of them, I think these feel probably the best, despite having an integrated holster. Just a soft touch rubber, and they feel super rugged, and they feel of a high quality meter. If you're blindfolded and someone put this in your hands, I would honestly think that you would probably put this near the top of the list as far as just feel, not specs, what it's capable of or anything else, just the feel of the external construction. It just feels really good, and it looks nice too. Red's my favorite color, so maybe there's a little bit of bias, but I think it's a pretty nice looking meter. Okay, I got the Southwire 12070T. It's on the smaller side, but it feels rock solid. It's got a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight to it for its size, and that makes it feel expensive, obviously. But that's not that important, obviously. That's just a personal thing. Just if you pick it up and there's no weight to it, it's got a really crappy little 9-volt, and the thing just feels feather light like the BK Precision. It just feels cheap. This has some weight to it. It's an integrated little bumper, but it feels decently soft. I mean, it's still hard, but it's got a good feel to it. Maybe it's a smoothness that I'm feeling. I don't know, but it feels pretty decent. And yeah, I think this could survive being in your toolbox. It feels pretty tough. So as far as physical feel with this one, I have absolutely no complaints. It feels great. BK Precision, the biggest name brand out of China as far as multimeters go, or handheld ones. I hate it. It's a more expensive brand. It's not True RMS, no backlight. It's like the least feature packed out of all the meters, pretty much. Maybe with the exception of the Innova, but just listen to this. I'm not even using any force. I'll use my fingertips. It just feels like it's gonna fall apart in my hands. I think even that $27 Holdpeak feels better than this. This just does not instill any confidence in me as far as durability. It just feels like a pile of crap. Now, if that being said, they're a reputable brand, and most people will just have it on their bench where it's not going to take much abuse, and I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just when I pay for name brand, I expect better quality than this. This just feels like it feels like a toy. And maybe it's the fact that it has a really light, crappy 9-volt in it, but it feels like a toy. And as far as just objectively speaking, it's the thinnest, flimsiest plastic out of all of them, and there is no rubber. Well, if that's rubberized, I mean, I can't feel the difference. It feels just about identical, maybe just a hair more rubberized than just the plastic on the front, but this just does not feel like it would survive any abuse, and just feels cheap. But, well, I guess feel is kind of a subjective thing, so I'll let you decide, but I mean, would you want a meter that costs more than most of the other ones that does this? I mean, really, it might look like I'm putting a ton of force on it, but I'm not. It's just, hate it. This one just does not doesn't give me good feelings. It gives me bad feelings. So this one is thumbs down for me. Easily the worst feeling one out of all of them, even the automotive Innova model. This just feels like shit. Okay, we have the Klein MM2000, and I have to say this is probably the toughest feeling out of all of them. It has a removable surround, which might give, or it might be part of why it's giving it such a good feel and ruggedness. It's kind of like the one the Fluke has. It's thick, it's separate, it's a rubber. It doesn't feel super soft, but it feels like it's a harder rubber that would survive some serious knocks. And yeah, there's no creaks. It's got good weight and feel to it. This probably, if I had to rate these, obviously some of these are kind of apples to oranges. This is meant for electricians, so they make this tough on purpose to be able to survive your tool bag. But I think this would probably be maybe number one. If not number one, it would be in the top three. But I think this, so far, this is the toughest feeling one out of all of them. Now, like I said, toughest feeling, I'm going to do a part 2 video where I will do drop tests legitimately from a meter or whatever, and then we'll find out for sure, but this one feels the best to me. Okay, we have the UEI UTLDM2. It's kind of a mouthful. It's small, but it feels okay, and it's probably got the softest feeling surround, or one of the softest feeling ones, and it feels great. It's no creaks, no rattles. It's kind of the same color scheme as a BK, so I automatically get these defenses up, but no, this one's tough. It feels great. I have no problems with it. And nah, the surround protrudes, so it'd protect the screen, but every one of these, and this one, it protrudes enough. If they would have made the range switch flatter, it might have been good enough to where it wouldn't teeter like this, but none of these, I still don't know if I've tested a single one where the range switch is protected. But anyways, that's a minor thing, but overall feels good, and the bumper is actually separate, so you can remove it. Okay, we got the Extech EX430. It's kind of a big industrial brand. They make stuff for electricians and just for the industrial world. There's a tiny little bit of creak or something, but it's minor. Maybe it's just a little bit of play in the kickstand or something. Overall, it feels tough. It feels a little, this one's probably 9 volt. I don't know. It feels kind of light. Ooh, what's that? Can you hear that? That's a little scary and kind of disheartening, but it feels okay. It's got, okay, so far this is definitely the softest feeling. Yeah, and it's the easiest. It's the most pliable rubber boot or protection or surround or holster or whatever you want to call it. I think it'd give it pretty decent protection, and these X-Techs usually known for being pretty rugged. This is a lot bigger than their 300 series, so I don't think it feels quite as rugged as like the EX330, but it doesn't feel bad. I'd still put this in the top 5 easily. Okay, we got the Canadian Circuit Test DMR 6550, and Canadian meaning this is from Canada. It's not actually Canadian model or anything. It's tiny. It's one of the smaller sized ones. Yeah, it feels super tough. It's an integrated surround, but it's a very soft feeling rubber, and it protrudes enough that I think, ooh, actually no. See, I don't understand why people put curved screens. You get more reflections and it sticks out more. It's it's convex. So yeah, I don't know. Having the rubber surround come up around the edges doesn't do much when this protrudes at the very center because it's convex. So stupid for 2 reasons. 1, because it's less protected from scratches, and then 2, because it attracts more reflections from more angles. But overall feel, though, this is definitely also probably top 5. Just it's tiny, super rugged feeling, no creaks or anything. I like it a lot. It feels great. Okay, Tekpower TP2844R. It's kind of a slightly on the smaller, medium-sized. It's definitely one of the thinner ones, but it doesn't have any kind of protective holster. It's just It's like that when they molded it, the outside part of the plastic is a more rubberized one than the inside. It actually feels pretty rubbery, but it doesn't feel like it would offer very much protection for you know, durability. But as far as feel, I mean, this thing feels absolutely solid. No creaks, no twisting, no flexing. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I think for not having a holster, this is excellent. Which is what I wish the BK would feel like, would be like this. This is good enough for not having a separate rubber bumper. Okay, now we have the Holdpeak. This is definitely one of those Chinese specials. It's not as bad as the BK, but it's probably the cheapest of the bunch as far as feel. Besides the BK, BK I think still feels cheaper than this. Now it doesn't. It looks integrated, but it's actually a separate bumper or holster that you can actually pull off of it to get access to taking it apart. But it is so thin that I don't think it would offer it much protection if you dropped it. And you know, it doesn't protrude at all, so the screen wouldn't be protected. The range switch isn't protected. You know, it's almost there for aesthetics. It feels like, or maybe for a little extra grip because it's. But, you know, this is actually the most plastic. I know it looks like I can bend this really easily, and I can, but that's just because it's thin. It's not actually very pliable. It doesn't feel any different than the plastic. So it's like they almost did it for like an accent color. So this probably wouldn't be very tough in a fall. But then again, it's light, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it would do okay. But yeah, probably the second cheapest feeling out of the bunch. And you know, it is a $27 meter, so keep that in mind. Okay, now it's for the time for one of the two wild cards. This is kind of the expensive end, and obviously Fluke's a big name brand. Fluke meters are made in the USA, but these are the ones for the Chinese market, and they are made in China. Not what I would consider typical Fluke quality, but it's still up there. No rubber. It's not even rubberized. It's the same plastic material as here. It's just a different color. So there's no protection against falls or being in a toolbox. I can hear a little bit of creaking, a little bit of something moving around. So it's not the normal Fluke build quality, but I would still put this above. It doesn't feel cheap. We'll just say that it doesn't feel cheap. But the fact that I can hear it creaking a little bit, there's a little bit of wiggle room for stuff to move around and flex. So I'd put this for feel. I think it feels fine and it looks fine. I would put it probably in the top half as far as feel. But as far as like build quality and ruggedness, I mean, how is it going to be rugged when it doesn't have any rubber protection at all? So as far as durability, this would probably be at the very bottom or near the bottom. But maybe not. It's so small. Fluke designs stuff well. They really test the crap out of their stuff. So for all I know, I'm just going off of just feel. You know, it just doesn't. It's not like the BK or the Holdpeak. I'd still put it above those two. But yeah, and it feels dense and solid. It's not flexing where the other two felt like they flexed. But I'm hearing some noises, and that makes me think that it might be lower on the list. But we'll find out when we do the drop tests in the second video. And then we have the other wild card, the cheapo Innova from Amazon. Feels fine actually, despite being pretty worthless as far as what it's capable of doing. It does actually feel pretty tough, and it does have it's an integrated rubber thing, but actually I don't think it's molded in. I think it's got like a tab and then you close the case around it maybe, or something like that. I don't know, maybe it's molded together. Either way, it protrudes a lot, so you would actually, hey look, it's the first one where the range switch doesn't touch. That's awesome. So thumbs up for that. It's huge protrusions, so the screen and the range switch and everything gets protected. Basically from every angle, it would hit the red stuff and never the plastic black stuff. So this one, as far as ruggedness and durability, this would probably actually be at the very top of the list because it's tiny, has a relatively tough feeling rubber, and it protrudes in every direction to where as long as you drop it on a flat surface, there's no reason the black plastic should ever touch anything. It should always be the red stuff hitting first. So I think this is actually probably at the top. That's not saying much though, because you know, if it's not capable of being a very good electronics multimeter, that doesn't mean you should go buy it. But as far as durability, I think this would be the toughest. And it doesn't feel cheap or anything necessarily, just feels small.